So our class project has a spreadsheet linked to it. And in there is where you're going to find the checklist that you should be measuring your website's performance against. Now, since I've been using Skillshare as my example, I'm going to keep using Skillshare as though it were my main brand. So for the purposes of this class, our main brand is Skillshare.com, and any competitors and reviews of Skillshare's performance are going to be using that domain, Skillshare.com. So that you can understand the input key and these numbers that I've put here, I'm going to go over what these numbers actually mean. So we've got a score rubric here of 0 to 4. Basically, if you're doing okay by SEO standards, 2 is the number you should give any of these domains. Granted, I need to give you a caveat here. Our scores may change when we start reviewing our website's performance against our competitors, so keep that in mind. But again, we're only going to start with our domain first. So a 2 essentially means technically we are doing things correctly, we've implemented a title tag correctly, we may not be going above and beyond. For the purposes of this review, we can't really say whether we're performing above and beyond our competition until we wrote them in. So for this first part of our class project, I shouldn't see any students putting scores 3 or 4 against their website's performance. Once we start reviewing our competition, however, then I should start to see extraordinary performances. However, you may find that you're going to score your sample pages a 0, a 1, or a 2 for some of these line items. A 0 means that we either aren't doing anything. So for instance, if we do not have schema markup anywhere on our sample pages, we would want to give ourselves a 0. If, however, we do have schema markup on our sampled pages, but there are errors associated with them, or issue items, or maybe there's redundant schema, we're going to want to give ourselves a 1 for schema markup. So this is how I've reviewed Skillshare against the sample pages that I've identified already. Skillshare is using their title tags correctly, and they've implemented them accurately. However, when I was looking at our sample pages, I saw that Skillshare is actually using more than one H1 tag on one of our sample pages. As a result, I scored them as 0 for H1s being technically optimized. To make this process a little bit easier, I set up this other sheet in our spreadsheet so that we could more easily look at our title tags and our H1 tags so that we don't have to go to each individual page. So I went over to sampled pages and I put in each of our sampled URLs, both here for my own tracking purposes and here to use import XML to pull this page's title as well as this page's H1 tag or tags. In this case, Skillshare's homepage has 1 correctly implemented title tag and then 2 H1 tags on the page. I've done the same for our following sample pages for Skillshare, and I'd like for you all to do the same for your main website. So in our case, or at least in this example, I would start with one of my sampled pages, the Skillshare homepage, and then I would click a couple of levels deep just to see how we're linking to content and what kinds of content we're linking to. So I want to click into design and see what rules are associated with it, with this internal link. So I'm going to go and open up Chrome DevTools, right-click the page and select Inspect. This is a free-to-use tool. It comes with out-of-the-box Google Chrome. So all you have to do is download Google Chrome. I do know that there are equivalents in Firefox and other major browsers as well. So I'm going to click this little arrow tool so that I can select various elements on the page and see how they're coded. So when I select this tool, I'm then going to be able to inspect an individual element on the page. In this case, I want to see how these elements are linked to and make sure that there aren't any strange robots, meta robots rules that are preventing Google from crawling these sections. And it looks like there aren't. So I'm going to go up a level and look at all categories. Then I'm going to look at primary tags, and I don't see anything blocking Google from crawling or indexing these. So it's a high-level sense check that you will need to do for each of your sampled pages. And again, this is only one level deep, even though it's still an extension of the home page. We're looking at different content here, and this is another level. So we're going to want to go an additional level to an individual lesson page and perhaps click on over to a different kind of content on this page. If we're looking at Skillshare's blog posts, for instance, we're going to need to go over to their blog subdomain and then click into an article or two. Following that, you'll need to check and see whether there's any schema markup on any of your individual sampled pages. The way that you can check this is by using a free-to-use tool called Structured Data Testing Tool. From here, you can plug in individual URLs from your sampled pages, and you will need to put this in for each sample page that you've got for your website. So in this case, I'm only going to show you the Structured Data Testing Tool results for the Skillshare homepage, but you will need to do this for your other sampled pages. Skillshare is doing great here. They do have organization markup on their homepage, which is a good thing to do, and that's where it should be. They also don't have any errors or any warnings for this organization schema markup, and they don't have redundant schema, meaning they don't have multiple organization markups here that are appearing, because if they did, Google would simply ignore it. Next, this is a little bit of a cheat, but we already know that there's a home for newly published content. The Skillshare site effectively is that hub for newly published content, and there is a blog. There's a subdomain for all of their editorial articles. So as a result, we can give Skillshare a 2 here. If you know your site that well and you don't need to navigate to each of your sampled pages to see if there's a home for new content, by all means, go ahead and give yourselves a 2. And then finally, we're not obviously messing up technical SEO. In Skillshare's case, they're doing pretty darn good. You may already know that your site is technically sound. You've already done a full technical SEO audit. In that case, give yourselves a 2. In order to do a sense check of this beyond these items above, I like to look and see what we're blocking in our robots.txt file. And I may do that for some of our competitors as well to see what their strategies are for blocking content. And then finally, content. So again, when it comes to title tags and H1 tags being editorially optimized, you can look on over to your sample pages spreadsheet and make sure that there are actually differences between your titles and your H1 tags. You want to make sure that you're providing additional context for the pages in your H1 tags and not simply repeating what happened in your title tag. And additionally, you might want to judge the quality of the H1 tags. For instance, for this writing section for Skillshare's writing courses, you might ask yourself whether writing is the best keyword to target in the H1 tag, or if it would be bolstered by a modifier or an additional keyword that is important to Skillshare. Internal linking, again, supports organic content. Instead of looking for technical reasons that Google might not be crawling our internal links, we're instead going to want to see the kinds of content we're linking to. So when you're clicking through to secondary and tertiary links on your sampled pages, look to see the kinds of content that you're regularly linking to. Are you linking to editorial articles or things that bolster the arguments on specific pages, or are you only linking to top-level content that you can find in your navigation? You want to give a lift to some newer, fresher content, again, so that you can help pass on link equity to these pages and get more eyeballs on those pages and share more of that authority in Google's eyes to newer content. The next line item, appropriate informational content. Make sure the content in your sampled pages are actually appropriate to what your business is designed to do, whatever your business's mission is. In Skillshare's case, they're an online learning platform. They could teach just about anything, and that is pretty broad. However, they really aren't well equipped to necessarily give medical advice. So if they had a medical advice article or a section that was promising to teach us important medical lessons, that would give me pause, because they are not an accredited medical institution, and I would argue that Skillshare is not the right place for you to be learning about medicine. And finally, this is a classic, you know it when you see it. Make sure that the quality of your content is well written and not scraped from other websites. Copy and paste some sentences from each of your sampled pages and paste it into Google to see if it's been pulled or plagiarized from other sources. And again, you know when you see a poor quality image or video, or an irrelevant image or video to the rest of the content. This will require you to at least skim your sampled pages and see the kinds of images and videos that you've got in there. So make sure that the images aren't grainy and that they're actually reflecting the content on the page, similar to any video content that's on your sampled pages. And with that, I wish you good luck. Complete this first lesson and fill out these scores for your own website against your 5 to 7 sampled pages, and share any places in the comments of this lesson where you might be getting stuck or confused, and share your progress with the rest of the class so that we can all help you do even better next time. All right, good luck.